Hello folks, my name's David Edgar. I'm the host of Heart and Hand, the Rangers podcast, joining you today to discuss the League Cup semi-final in which Rangers lost to Aberdeen by 1-0 at Hampden earlier today. It was bloody freezing and the performance unfortunately didn't do much to raise our temperatures. It's a sore one. It's a really sore one because I think we all felt that we're a better team than Aberdeen. I think that they let us have the ball. They said to us, come on, see if you can break us down, and we couldn't. And then their plan was to try and get us with a set piece or a bit of brilliance from one of their players. It was the former. And when the goal went in, I think we all knew we could still be playing and not scoring. This is something that has happened a few times against teams who are prepared to let us have the ball and put men behind it and say, come on then. We didn't really look like breaking them down too often. Their keeper's not exactly done an awful lot to do. And a lot of that isn't that we don't get into good positions. We do. We then just don't capitalise on them. And our crossing's very poor. Our set-piece delivery is awful. James Tavernier's had a hellish week when it comes to that, never mind day. And too many times Daniel Candeias or Ryan Kent or Ovia Jarry or whoever get into good positions and then don't make the most of it. Decision making lets us down, and probably wasn't helped today by up front the manager sprung a surprise by bringing in the forgotten Umar Sadiq to replace the suspended Alfredo Morelos in the cup tied Kyle Lafferty, and it didn't work. He just looked like he looked at his depth. You know, I could come up with a kind of pithy statement about it. I don't want to take the piss out of the guy, but he didn't look up to the level that he was at today. And Aberdeen, they're not a great side. They work hard. As I say, they got guys behind the ball, and we just couldn't find the inspiration to get past them. It feels like that's the end of the manager's honeymoon. You know, you guys who watch these videos will know that I'm a huge fan of his, but he made mistakes today. He didn't change to take into account the personnel that were missing. We played the same way we always do. Aberdeen had it sussed, and we didn't change during the match when it became clear. He has an issue with substitutions. He doesn't use substitutions well. He doesn't use them early enough, and it was the same again today where he kept the same side on, and then when Aberdeen scored we suddenly get two substitutions, too little too late. It's as if when the game is in that period where it could go either way, the Rangers were having the better of it at that point. Don't get me wrong. I mean, we were dominating the ball, dominating territorial, and it's as if he feels that, yeah, I could bring on a sub and it could change it for the better, but it could also change it for the worse, and I don't want to take that risk. And you can't do that, especially not in a cup tie, because you've got to seize the moment, you've got to cap DM and all that shite, and we don't do it. And it's not the first time, and coming out of Hampden today, it was very much something the Rangers supporters were discussing. And the problem is now that's been two big domestic games that he's lost, his two biggest. And while our European form has been sensational and the run has exceeded all our expectations, it's Scotland, we're a parochial wee place, and what we do in our league is of prime importance to us, especially right now, because I mean it's not like we've had a trophy laden run the last few seasons. So fans are starting to get really frustrated, and unfortunately the gaffer's going to have to get used to this. That comes with the territory of being Rangers manager. I think most people are still reasonable, and in the cold light of day will go, he's had one window, a new team, it'll take time. We get all that, but we're not patient, you know, at the best of times, and it's very much the case right now that we're just so desperate for a bit of success. But you try and put defeats in context and say, well, you know, this happened and that happened, and I'm struggling today. That was a bad one. That was just a bad one. We should be capable of beating Aberdeen. They're not a great side. They'll get cubbed in the final, and you know, Rangers should have had enough about them to win that match today and didn't. And that's it. All you can say is there's nobody to blame but ourselves, and the manager's going to have to take the responsibility and get a reaction. But one thing that's clear is in the January window we absolutely have to bring in creative options in midfield and up front, because we struggle very badly when plan A isn't working. And we've heard that before somewhere, and we don't want to repeat that. So a sore one, but you know, part of doing these unfortunately is I can't just come out after the good ones. I wish I could. would you mind? But you've got to come out when you haven't done so well either. The Rangers support were brilliant today. They deserve more. There were thousands of us and got right behind the team, and unfortunately the team didn't deliver, and they've cost themselves and us a chance at a trophy, and that one hurts. Big game on Wednesday now. The crowd at Ibrox, I've seen Ibrox crowds after a defeat in a big match. They can be a little bit surly, and the team will need to show us something here. But we're now at the stage where we've got to start concentrating on our domestic form, and it's got to improve, and that's a kick in the balls today. There will be criticism. I still think he's the right guy. I mean, please don't for a second think that I'm saying, I'm not, right? He is a young manager who's got a lot of potential, who's learning his trade, and I think is very talented, and I think will deliver success for us. But on the actual days when things don't go well, it's harder to maintain that overview of the long-term situation. I shall do my best, but right now I'm just going to go off and have a 4-hour very, very hot shower to try and get the feeling back in my extremities. Thanks for listening to me. I'll be back on Wednesday night after Kelly. Cheers. Bye.